Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? I wanted to give you guys a couple quick little facts about the ancient civilizations that lived in Mexico before the Spanish arrived. So I wanted to show you real quick. We have the word indigenous. We're talking about indigenous people. Indigenous means native to a place, the original people living there. So these people who were there before the Spanish didn't immigrate, didn't come from somewhere else, they were always there. They were indigenous. And this all started about 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, there were many different cultures living there, and they spoke different indigenous languages. There was no Spanish. The place that would become known as Mexico is where they first started growing corn, tomatoes, and beans, and growing these things allowed them to start building little communities, building little cities. They didn't have to go off to hunt. They could stay there, make roots, and live together in community. The first known people, this big civilization called the Olmec. The Olmecs were the first big civilization in what is now Mexico. They were one of the first farming cultures. So they were the people starting the beans and the tomatoes and the corn growing. They were the people laying down roots in the areas that they lived in. They were probably the first culture on the continent with a written language. Before them, they couldn't write, but these guys developed a system of writing. They were excellent sculptors, and they made some early tools from stone and wood. And most interestingly, excuse me, these guys vanished without a trace, and nobody knows what happened to them. Nobody knows why or where they went. The Olmec just disappeared. And after the Olmec came the Mayans. The Mayans had this famous calendar, the Mayan calendar, and they developed it to keep track of the days. They, like the Olmec, were also great sculptors, and they built incredible pyramids that you can still see in Mexico today, like the one pictured right here. They had an even larger empire than the Olmecs, and they created many cities, each with its own government. So they weren't just living together, they were developing rules and systems to be together in community or in comunidad. But they were often at war with each other. And because of this, some of their big, great cities became abandoned when these wars would break out. And that's part of the reason why their empire declined, and they ended up disappearing too. After the Mayan civilization, we have probably the most famous, the best known empire from ancient Mexico, the Aztecs. The Aztecs printed their own books. They were among the first to do that. They had a strong army, unlike the Mayans who were always fighting. These guys would go out and they would capture other communities, and they would say, okay, now you're part of us. And because of that, they became very wealthy and very powerful, and they developed a very strong army. These were the guys who were in charge or in power when the Spanish came in the 1500s. Their last emperor was named Moctezuma II, who was captured by conquistador Hernán Cortés. So these Aztecs ruled a short period. They ruled from 1428 to 1521, when they were finally beaten and conquered by the Spanish conquistadors. We're going to pause right here because I have some fast facts for you to answer in the assignment below. So refer back to the video if you need to, but answer these quick questions about these civilizations you just learned about. Hasta pronto. Adios.